Good evening, Kitchissippi. It is Saturday, June the 1st. This is a video version of the 393rd weekly Kitchissippi Ward newsletter. Remember that you can sign up at the newsletter for all the details at kitchissippiward.ca. I'll be putting it out tomorrow on Sunday, maybe later on this evening, depending how the evening turns out. It is a beefy newsletter this evening. Let me jump right in. First, there are two postings by some of my colleagues that don't impact directly on Kitchissippi Ward, but to which I wanted to point. The first of them is a posting by Councillor Ariel Troster at her blog online, talking about her support for the current city proposal for siting a new Louise Arbour school at the site of 1010 Somerset, the property that the city has acquired. We've been through a lot of back and forth on that design. I think we're essentially at the end of the line with respect to redesigns. Ariel has some very clear reasoning and thinking with which I agree entirely in a post explaining why she supports it, and I do encourage residents to take a look at that. The second posting is by my colleague Councillor Johnson in College Ward. She put up an op-ed in the Ottawa Citizen this week talking about the improvement to transportation network that is going to be the result of putting bike lanes on the new Maitland overpass when that is rebuilt, as well as getting the province to agree to put cycling infrastructure on the overpasses at Richmond, Pinecrest, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the other, Woodruff, Pinecrest, and Richmond. So what I really like about that is she makes a very compelling case for how including cycling infrastructure on some of these big infrastructure projects makes for a better transportation infrastructure for everyone. Well worth a read, and I've included a link in the newsletter this week. I am hosting pop-up office hours this week. I'll be in Champlain Park on Wednesday, June the 5th from 2:30 until 5:30 p.m. Look for me, I guess, at one of the picnic tables near the wading pool. I am hoping to arrange for access to get into the field house. If it's raining, you can look for me there, but those pop-up hours are going to be hosted at Champlain Park. Pop-ups are an opportunity to come by anytime during those hours to chat with me without appointment about anything that is on your mind, one-on-one. Again, another reminder from last week, Richmond Road behind me here from Island Park until Kirkwood is going to be closed overnight while they move the old gas station that you can see behind me, which is up on stilts and apparently has been raised without collapsing. They're going to move it across the street to the site of the MJM Auto Repair, the old Avenues Garage where I am now. I expect I've concurred with a noise exemption for that work that could happen between midnight to 6 a.m. So Sunday night ticking over into Monday morning. I've talked to the contractor at length now. I don't expect that this is going to be particularly disruptive work. Should be pretty spectacular to see though. So they'll move the Heritage gas station across the street. I understand the move will be fairly brief, and they tell me they're not nervous about the success of it. So looking forward to seeing some of that. Listen, I've got another ramp closure I need to pass on from MTO. I received note, I guess on Thursday from the Ministry of Transportation. They're now going to be closing the Parkdale westbound off-ramp June 16th to September 8th. So for a period, most of the summer, the Parkdale westbound off-ramp will be closed and the Parkdale eastbound on-ramp. I imagine the city will get some good graphics out again to explain what that closure is, but it is the Ministry of Transportation that is doing that. I know I put it up on Facebook, a lot of comments in there, but you know, there's very little that we can do about a provincial decision. We're going to have to adjust to that. I've got the full details in the newsletter. Committee of Adjustment, I think this is the third week I've talked about these two files, at 212 Carruthers and at 171 Armstrong. On June 5th at the Committee of Adjustment Panel 1, the committee will be considering a request for variances for both of those properties. Essentially the same thing, a little bit of extra height, a reduced width on some of the bike parking, as well as some relief from the requirement to reticulate the facade. We do have the staff comments now. Those are online with those agenda items, and city staff have expressed no concern with either of those applications. Probably the big news of the week, the new zoning bylaw has dropped in stunning detail. You can take a look now at any property across the city and see see what the new zoning is proposed to be. That came out late Friday while I was still in a Transit Commission meeting. I haven't taken a look through. My quick scan indicates that there are some very significant upzonings across the ward that are being proposed. I'll have some analysis out over the next couple of weeks, but I have a link in the newsletter to take a look. There's a really cool map where you'll be able to slide back and forth to see what the zoning was, what the zoning is proposed to be. I anticipate that I'll have lots of conversations in the coming weeks, both with community leaders and with residents one-on-one. And a reminder that as part of that consultation for the new comprehensive zoning bylaw, there will be a kickoff consultation, or open house, I guess I'd be better calling it, on June the 20th from 6:30 until 8 p.m. You can register for that through the Zoom link that I've included in the newsletter. There will be virtual community information and comment sessions coming up as well. I know I'm planning on hosting a town hall. I'm going to work with some other councillors on more of a citywide town hall. Lots of conversations to come before we finally vote on that new bylaw, December 2025, fingers crossed. Rosemount Library is one of the pilot locations for Sharps kits. So we all know that we are seeing a few more needles around the ward. Rosemount Library is going to be distributing Sharps kits that contain the necessary equipment for picking up Sharps yourself should you want to do so. I've got a lot of information in the newsletter about that. There are further details on the Ottawa Public Health site, I believe. All the links are in the newsletter, but I'm really looking forward to having Rosemount serve as one of the distribution centers for those Sharps kits. In terms of community events, it's Let's Bike Month. I have actually ended up joining one of the City Hall teams at letsbike.ca. You can search for your workplace, search for your club, search for your neighborhood, join a team, log your miles. There are a ton of great prizes. I think they draw almost every day for Let's Bike Month. Friendly competition to see which teams can log the most kilometers. The Westboro Garage Sale is going to be on June the 8th again. That is going to be at the Dovercourt Recreation Center. They usually host a bunch of tables around the wading pool, so that's coming up on June the 8th. The Parkdale United Church's auction is going to be held. It's underway right now. It goes until June 5th, and I apologize fairly profusely for getting the wrong link in the newsletter last time in order to be able to participate in that. I've double-checked, I've triple-checked. The link that's in the newsletter this week is the correct one to start bidding on all sorts of collectibles and interesting goods. Take a look at the auction. At City Hall, I've got a bunch of meetings in the newsletter this week that are coming up. The Joint Environment and Climate Change and Planning and Housing Committee is coming up on June 20th to take a look at the new infrastructure master plan. That has lots of development implications. The agenda is not yet online, but I imagine that I will be talking a lot about that as we approach the meeting. In terms of meetings for which there is an agenda online, Finance and Corporate Services is meeting on June the 4th. We talked a bit about this last week, or a fair bit about this last week. There's the land acquisition that Councillor Johnson has demonstrated some great leadership on at 100 Centrepoint to get that into city hands. I have to assume that my colleagues in Finance Committee are going to recommend that for approval. There is also the operating results and investment funds that are going to be considered, and city staff have replied to Councillor Menard with respect to the feasibility of having parking tickets set fines according to the value of the car. We can't do it, say staff, but there are provisions in traffic court for people who have hardship paying their fines. The Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee is going to meet on June the 6th. Very brief agenda. They're going to confirm an engineer of record for 2 Drainage Act matters. See the agenda online. The Audit Committee is going to meet on June the 10th to receive the Auditor General's audits and recommendations for the city's purchasing card program, as well as the Climate Change Master Plan. So all the documents are online. I haven't taken a look at those yet, but I'm looking forward to digging into those in the next few days. The Built Heritage Committee is going to meet on June the 11th. It's got a full agenda, as is usual these days, that includes, very significantly for our ward, the recommendation recommendation from staff to move ahead with feasibility studies to see whether the city could create new heritage conservation districts, both for Island Park Drive, something the community has been seeking for quite some time now, and which I support, as well as for Wellington West and some of the side streets in Hintonburg. I'm looking forward to digging into the details of those, but the city has been focused on preserving more of the heritage in Kitchissippi Ward, which is underrepresented in terms of designated properties. There will be full details with the agenda item that is online. There's also a number of designations proposed. I think Rideau, Beechwood, I think there might be something on Saint Laurent. Take a look at all the documents in the agenda, to which I've linked in the newsletter. The Rosemount Library has sent me their most recent special programming note. Always enjoy looking at that. There is a session coming up actually tomorrow night, or sorry, Monday night. If this comes out on Sunday, it'll be tomorrow, with respect to how to secure a wireless network. There is an Aging in Place with Services and Supports session on Wednesday, June the 5th. There will be a National Film Board screening with 4 short films coming up over the next few weeks. Ms. Campbell, Inuk Teacher, Nejaduk Knight, Eve Evans Drum, a bunch of them. There is another film coming up on Monday night, June 3rd, which is part of the NFB film screening program for the National Indigenous History Month. The TD Summer Reading Club is underway at Rosemount Library. That's a nationwide reading club for kids over the summer. And then, of course, they've got notes about all of the weekly programming that happens at Rosemount Library. Baby time, family story time, stay and play, tween gaming, French conversation group, the Rosemount Knitting Group, the English Conversation Group, Rosemount Writing Collective. So you can take a look at everything that's coming up at Rosemount Library in the newsletter, which I'll be sending out soon. And then one final note with respect to the Kitchissippi Winter Trail. Their board is seeking some folks, including a treasurer. That's obviously a really important role on any board, as well as a couple of other board positions. And they've got a couple of volunteer positions that are open with respect to, I think it was event sponsorship, and I might be events coordinator or something like that. So volunteer board positions are open for the Kitchissippi Winter Trail, as well as volunteer positions. Really important we fill those. The Kitchissippi Winter Trail is obviously a huge part of the quality of our life here in this ward. It very quickly became so, and joining the board or becoming a volunteer with some of the needs that they have is a great way to provide some service. Kitchissippi, I had a wonderful time today going around seeing all the garage sales, or not all of them, but a lot of them over several hours. It was a picture perfect Saturday. I hope this weather continues. Have a great week, and thanks for watching.